Hard Knocks debuted the 2021 season last night on HBO. I watched it, featuring America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. And it's funny, this morning, USA Today had a headline, 5 takeaways from Hard Knocks. I started reading it. I'm like, what am I reading this for? I don't need your 5 takeaways. I got a couple. Number one, I was not the biggest Dak Prescott fan. I think people that watch this show know that. I'm less of a Dak Prescott fan coming out of watching this show. What a whiner. What a whiner. Look, I understand you want to take every rep. I get it. You can't take every single rep. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
He was very upset
that he couldn't.
That he was pulled early in this training camp a couple of weeks ago because they want to give the backups some work. Danny Bonaducci, the backup quarterback. Well, Ben DiNucci is his name, but I call him Danny Bonaducci, which means nothing to you, do you? He was the star of the Partridge Family. Anyways, that was one. Dak, come on, stop whining. Let these other guys have some work. And then, of course, he ends up getting hurt. 2, the biggest one was Jarrah. When he was talking to the team, I thought it was the head therapist. You said it was the team doctor.
Yeah, it was one of the two.
Yeah. So he's writing with an HB pencil these notes on Dak, talking with the medical staff on the phone. And we all take away different things. But my thing was this. He's eating a McDonald's Egg McMuffin, Jarrah Jones. And people are saying, well, what's odd about that? He's worth $7-8 billion. How's it he not have a Red Seal chef at his ready? You know, here you go, Mr. Jones. We, with his choice, an omelet station.
Yeah, exactly. He's got Benedict or something like.
Right. An omelet station. A guy cutting a roast at the end of the table. Jerry, when you're done with the trainer, we have your choice here of ham, roast beef. Do you want that in your omelet, Mr. Jones?
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
Is that your boat?
Nah, working on it. That's not mine. It's a friend's.
You have a bigger boat than that, huh? Let me come down and ride around on the boat with you. We could broadcast from the boat. You could do your show, I could do my show, and really there would be no reason for me to leave.
How about that?
Was that your boat in the clip? Are you doing your show from that?
You're the second guy to ask that today. I think that's not, but we're working on it.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yes, it is. Hello, Canada and 32 U.S. states. Welcome to the RP Show, episode number 1420 of your favorite daytime sports talk show. In Canada, we're the only daytime sports talk show, but in the USA, we're one of them. And as you see, we have our very special guest in studio, the publisher of the South Florida Tribune, the great Motor City Madmouth, Scott Morganroth, and I see you're representing. It's behind your microphone. Do you want to sneak out in front of the camera and show them what you're wearing there, Scott?
Is that better?
There you go.
Or do I have to get up?
No, you're good. You're good right where you are.
There goes my head.
The Motor City Madmouth is here, and you said that you've informed your legions of fans that you would be on the RP show today. Is that a fact?
Absolutely. And I left the S off because I knew you'd catch it.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, everybody, he's here, everybody. You wanted him, you got him. We're going to break with a little bit of tradition here on the program. I don't usually bring somebody into the studio, as you all know. If they do come in, if I bring somebody in, they have to be very special. So there you go, man.
Man, that's a really nice thing for you to say, Mr. Pedersen. I love having you on the Sports Exchange, but coming on the RP show, seriously, really, don't get any better than that.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. Just remind you, we are in an office tower.
I didn't even know that, I swear to God.
Scott Morganroth with us. So when I say breaking with tradition, I'm going to invite as many comments as we can here in this opening section, the warm-up. Coming up later on in hour 2, when I let you go, about 20 after the hour. In hour 2, we'll be joined by Jeff Marek from the program The Sheet. It's part of the Daily Faceoff Network, or is it the Nation Network? That's what it is, right, Clark? The Nation Network that Jeff Marek's with now?
Bingo!
Correct? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so those are the guests. Can you hit the quick 6 show horn, please, guys? Back at the IKS studio. That's what we do. So we do go through the Quick Six Show topics as the topics of the day. And as you know, Scott, we are on the air in Canada. Detroit is like an honorary Canadian city where they love hockey there, too.
Oh, yeah.
Wings didn't play last night. But here's your NHL leftovers from Wednesday night. Adam Fantilli scored 3 goals for his first career hat trick. Elvis Merzlikins stopped 29 shots. And Columbus beat Toronto last night. Was it 5-1, Clark? The Blue Jackets improved to 7-1-1. In their last 9 games, have moved into the Eastern Conference's first wild card spot. Meanwhile, in Denver, Neil Pionk scored 17 seconds into overtime, and the Winnipeg Jets beat Colorado 3-2. Jets goalie Connor Hellebuck actually started the winning play when he sent the puck to Vladislav Nemesnikov, who fed Pionk skating down the right side. Pionk's slap shot beat Mackenzie Blackwood to end Winnipeg's 2-game slide. And in L.A., Sammy Hellenius and Adrian Kempe scored in the third period. The LA Kings rallied to beat Florida by a score of 2-1. And Paul Maurice, after the game, would not say that they were tired or fatigued. They had just played in Anaheim the night before. But the Panthers have a couple days off before their next one. They're playing San Jose and Vegas before coming home. So before we get into the NFL and college football, then our poll question relates to all of them. We'll get to that in a second. How much you follow in the NHL these days, Motor City Madmouth?
Enough. Plenty. I pay attention. I have a Center 8 package.
Mm-hmm. How about your Wings? Don't be so...
I'm following them, too. I know they get Doug McClellan's a major upgrade from Derek Lalonde.
Todd McClellan.
Right. Who did I say?
Doug McClellan. I think we were talking about Doug McClain before the show.
Oh, that's right.
That's
I mix the two up. Best of both McClellan.
It's all good. Well, listen, I don't know if you know a guy by the name of Lou Gamelin. He's on the 12-ounce Sports Network out of Michigan, and he says in Detroit they're referring to Todd McClellan as the Todd father with a turnaround of the Wings. So I'm not going to sit and ask you about all the NHL teams, but I am going to ask you about your Detroit Red Wings because your dad was a season ticket holder going back to the 1960s. See, I pay attention to these things, Scott.
I really do. I'm impressed.
Are the Wings going to make the playoffs, do you think, or what?
Yeah, I do believe so. What you've added with Todd McClellan, because I knew I had to get it right this time.
The Todd father.
Yeah, there you go, Todd father. That might be even easier at this particular point in time. It's only been up since 2 a.m. But the reality is under Derek Lalonde, the team was lackadaisical is what they are. They lacked discipline. Steve Yzerman knew that. And when you have a guy that's won a cup with the Detroit Red Wings back under Mike Babcock, that this guy would be the type of individual that brought in instant credibility and could light a fire into this thing. I don't worry about the last week or so. They're probably road weary anyways, but there's a much better hockey team now than it was when Todd, father, as you call him, inherited the club. They were lifeless and lackadaisical. Now they're playing with a lot more energy, and it looks like they're enjoying the game a lot more.
It's a hell of a race. We still have almost half a season to go in the NHL, and as I mentioned, Columbus has moved into a playoff spot, and to be honest, who saw that coming? So those are our NHL leftovers from last night. Later on tonight,
I'm sorry.
What do you got?
Let me ask you a question. What was your observation when you saw them play against the Florida Panthers locally?
They're a very good team.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is they're a very talented team. I talked about this yesterday with Lou Gamelin, Alex DeBrincat, Patrick Kane, Tarasenko, Cam Talbot in goal. They should be better than they are. Stevie Y was right. They're underachieving.
Right.
And now they seem to be getting it going under Todd McClellan. So we'll see how far it goes. By the way, it is fun with Scott. We're not going to stay on the road on point as much as we normally do with the Moose. And that's a fun thing. Okay. And you're welcome to write in, by the way. People are already 902-518-3033 with your questions and comments as we go. Later on today, our Cats and Bolts podcast will drop from Podcast Junkie Studios. That's the one that Serena and I do covering the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. And we have a very special guest this week. It's Doug McClain, the former head coach of the Panthers and the Columbus Blue Jackets. And he made a very, I don't want to scoop myself here, but he said in the show, which will drop this afternoon, Scott, that in 90% of the cases, it's the owner that decides on a coaching change. And I think that needs to be pointed out. Doug will go further into it, and it's a fascinating discussion with Doug McClain later on today. Point being, he's like Derek Lalonde, as if, Todd McClellan's going to be any more disciplined than Derek Lalonde was. Give me a break. Doug said the owner in Columbus made him fire coaches. I think he was fired by the owner here in Florida, Wayne Huizenga.
it was a bit of a revelation to me. Like, I knew that they had influence, but I didn't think 90% of the cases. That's McLean's take. What do you think?
Well, they write the check, right?
What do they know more than the general manager about hockey?
I didn't say that. Don't put me on a limb saying that. Seriously, really. I mean, they write the check. Well, let me ask you a question. Who made the decision to fire Gerard Gallant and leave him in the airport in New York?
You tell me, the owner?
I don't know. I'm asking you. You're the Panthers authority. I guess.
I wouldn't quite go that far. But, again, it drops later on this afternoon, the Cats and Bolts podcast. Doug McLean was fantastic. He offered assessments of the Panthers, the Lightning, talked about his latest book, and he roasted, and I mean roasted, Jeff Rimmer.
Right.
The original voice of the Florida Panthers, just retired after 20 seasons with the Columbus Blue Jackets, who's originally from Calgary. Okay, moving on.
Well, moving on, I'll let everybody know that Rob and I will be doing the Sports Exchange tonight, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. George Eichhorn will be there with Rod and I, so hope you can join us later on tonight.
We'll be talking about all these things and more. Now, as I pivot to point 2 of our Quick Six show topics, this is the thing I wanted to get to the most with you, Scott, and our football fan-loving viewers. The New York Jets and Aaron Glenn have agreed to terms on making the Detroit Lions defensive coordinator their head coach. Glenn oversaw the Lions defense the past 4 years. You're already signing. And beat out 15 other candidates for the job as the Jets went through an extensive search. And they ended up choosing one of their former players. Glenn was a first-round pick in 1994 who was mentored by Bill Parcells, became one of the Jets' best playmakers, and developed into a well-respected and highly sought-after coach. Whether he will have success in New York or not, I think we all know the odds are stacked against him. But your Detroit Lions have now lost both coordinators.
Okay. All right.
Are you worried?
No. I'll tell you why I'm not worried. Dan Campbell found these 2 guys in the first place. So he'll just go out there and see what's out there again. When the Lions lost to the Washington Commanders, I think what part of the problem was, and Bill Belichick went on record saying that coordinators or coaches should not interview until the season is over because they're a distraction. That's what happened. I'm not going to say that's why the Lions lost the game. I'm not going to do that. 5 turnovers doesn't help. You don't do that to a guy like Jaden McDaniels and give him more opportunities to touch the football and score. But the reality is that, no, I'm not going to worry. Dan Campbell will go out there and see who's out there and look for the next needle in a haystack. Maybe it's an internal option. Maybe it's an external option. But this is the time of the year where coaching staffs get rewarded. Head coaches become defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators, become head coaches as a result of success. This is no different what's been going on for years. It just so happens to happen with the Detroit Lions. We don't see that often. But it happened here. Aaron Glenn did a really good job. Now, what's nice about for the Lions is because he's African-American, they got 2 third-round picks compensatory in the next 2 years with the Jets figuring to be poor, that those picks could amount to something, and Brad Holmes will make them turn out well. But I'm going to tell you, that's a tough job in New York. And as far as Ben Johnson is concerned, they've got some work to do to build that roster. They don't even know where they're going to play in 2031 with their stadium situation out in Chicago. You were recently there. I don't know if they were talking much about it. I'm sure it made the news a little bit. So the Chicago Bears are a work in progress. They really, really are. Ben Johnson has a lot of work. He couldn't beat Jaden McDaniels, right? Mm-hmm. But he gets to develop Caleb Williams. All he does with Caleb Williams is prevent him from being a bust.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. One thing before I move on to another topic here. I was in a souvenir store right across the street from Wrigley Field. There are several there, as you know. And there were Justin Fields jerseys. Beautiful.
Right.
Whoever makes the NFL jerseys, I'm not sure. I don't buy them. I think Nike. Beautiful Justin Fields jerseys for $25. And I'm like, is that not a statement on market value? And time marches on. $25, Scott. That thing would have been $250 2 years ago.
Yeah, but you know what? I still think to some degree the Bears made a mistake with Justin Fields. I know that Caleb Williams is a generational talent that they feel they have. They had a decent quarterback in 40, 50 some odd years anyways. If you count how many quarterbacks they have, I say politicians tell more lies. Well, maybe not quite that much, but they've had a lot of quarterbacks. The best quarterback that they've had was Jim McMahon, and all he did was win a Super Bowl. He wasn't good enough to keep the job for much longer. Then you had Jim Harbaugh. So the Bears have gone through a myriad of coaches. You can't go out there, keep changing the head coach, and offensive coordinator expecting guys to turn out well. Mitch Trubisky, everybody thought they moved up in the draft to get this guy. How did it work out? Gone. And the list goes on and on in terms of big name. Do they get it right with Caleb Williams? Good thing they let Matt Eberflus go. But when they let Matt Eberflus go, it's the first in-season firing that the Bears have had in ages. And that takes an awful lot to do, especially with the Chicago Bears.
So we're going to have a football-related poll question today for our friends at EMJ Marketing. And by the way, contact Joe at emjmarketing.com to find the perfect keynote speaker for your event. Here's the question, and I'm trying to remember where this came out. I was on the radio in Calgary the other night, talking football with Jock Wilson, QR Calgary, 770 AM. And he asked me if I thought the CFL should adopt the NFL kickoff rule. And what I love is when topics can bring in all levels of football fans, NFL fans, XFL fans, which is now USFL, CFL, college. There's two leagues. What do they call it? I think is the static kickoff, or what do they call it? Somebody out there, you know the ones that I mean, though. They line up 10 yards apart from the 35 to the 45. And what do they say? They're motionless until the ball is fielded or lands. The NFL's using it. The XFL started it. Here's who's not using it. The Canadian Football League, college and high school. That still affects a lot of players.
But how does that work in the CFL? You have a much bigger field. So how do you relate to that?
Well, here's the thing. Danny McManus, when he was on my show, gave me a great education about the Canadian Football League. And Danny was a great guest. I go back to when he was at South Broward.
You're welcome for introducing me to
You're welcome. It's okay. You're welcome for all the other people I'm bringing you on with, too. But, we love the you're welcomes. That's part of the way we do things. That's why we get along so good.
Continue.
How about that?
Well, let me tell you. No, I will. I mean, Danny McManus gave me a good education about the CFL is what he had done. So I don't think that the new NFL kickoff rule would actually work in the CFL. Leave the league alone. But you see it differently up there. I don't know enough about it. But I'm just saying I'm not overwhelmed about the kickoff rule. I didn't mind the way it was. But the only reason why they did it was for safety purposes, because I have a guy on Inside the Pigskin on the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network named John Bonamego, who comes on every week. And he said, yeah, it's okay rule, but he's a special teams coach. If you can't get some direct information from a special teams coach, where are you going to get it?
Yeah.
And this guy's a regular.
So TSN's CFL insider Dave Naylor reported yesterday that the CFL has decided for at least 2025, they're not going to go to the NFL kickoff rule.
Smart.
Yeah, well, the thing is, why was it brought in? Apparently, Calgary Stampeders head coach and GM Dave Dickinson is in favor of bringing it in for the sake of player safety. That's why the NFL is doing it in the first place.
Right.
But I still think that, what did I see? 36% of the kickoffs are being fielded. So 64% are resulting in touchbacks, not being fielded at all. So what's the point of bringing it into the NFL? What you're saying is the field's bigger, so you can have more balls in play.
Right.
Is what you're saying.
Well, the problem is, come up with a stat. Anybody out there welcome to try it. How many touchdowns do you have off of kickoff returns in the NFL? I can't imagine you have that many. But again, I don't have numbers to support what I'm talking about. I just know there are a lot more touchbacks. Field position is better. You have a shorter field and probably less injuries. So I understand both sides of the argument. It just depends. I think it comes down with the CFL and the NFL. The sides of the field I think plays a large part.
Yeah.
Now, again, they only said for 1 year, so they're still trying to go ahead and evaluate whether we want to bring it in 26, right?
Yes, of course. That
so again, what they're trying to do is they want another year to study the NFL rule. And by the way, it's now the United Football League. It was the XFL. No, I mean, they've changed a lot.
Whatever the hell.
No, I'm just saying the USFL and the XFL merged the United Football League.
Consider this. You're a CFL fan. You are. You talked about interviewing Wally Buono. And we're on the air national television in Canada. When we come back, we're going to talk about the NFL Conference Championships this weekend. Look ahead to the NHL tonight. But on this particular topic, for those of us that have a few years under our belt, remember the highlights of the day? Who are the most electrifying, beloved players in CFL history? Henry Gizmo Williams in Edmonton, Mike Pinball Clemens in Toronto, these kinds of guys. And you remember the highlights of kickoff return, punt return, every game. Almost every game had at least one. When's the last time you just said it, when's the last time you saw an electrifying kick return touchdown?
I can't even remember.
What, in the NFL?
Any league.
Well, I haven't seen many in the NFL.
Well, definitely not in the NFL.
Well, here, you really want to go out there and go back, and I can really go back.
Let's pause for a second. We're a minute over. We got to take a timeout. So we're getting into it with a Motor City Mad Mouth. It doesn't take much. What are you, Gordie Howe now?
Yeah, exactly.
We'll be right back here on the Game Plus Television Network, streaming live and podcast wherever the best podcasts are found.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Folks, it may take weeks, months, or even years to get the call to be a stem cell donor. Saving lives takes commitment and dedication, just like being a hockey player. Give hope to patients in Canada. Register online at blood.ca/getswabbed and spread the word amongst your family and friends. The Motor City Mad Mouth, Scott Morganroth, is with us. He is the publisher of the South Florida Tribune, also runs the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network, and will be on the air tonight with the Sports Exchange. Before I delve into some of these other topics, which, by the way, folks, on the way,
We'll talk a little more about Bob Uecker today because Scott's met him, and your wife's from Milwaukee.
Correct.
She loves him, maybe as much as she loves you.
Yeah,
Maybe
so. Yeah, I don't know. Well, hey, listen, I grew up with Ernie Harwell.
That's good. You're a Detroit guy. He's a Detroit guy.
Yeah, but you know what? Ernie was like an uncle to me, but I understand when you're brought up with a local voice.
Two things from the CFL, newsworthy. Curtis Rourke, the star Indiana quarterback, has topped the latest winter rankings for the upcoming CFL draft. And also the Saskatchewan Roughriders have released receiver Ajo, former South Florida Bull, so he can sign with the NFL's Indianapolis Colts. All the details are at rodpeterson.com. And we will look at tonight's games in the NHL, plus the NFL Conference Championships this Sunday. But I was going to SouthFloridaTribune.com to see if you published my latest article. And on there is one of your shows this week about Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. And the headline was, is Lamar Jackson to blame for the Ravens losing in the divisional game the other night? What did you guys deduce or discern on that?
I think to some extent he has.
Ooh.
And I'll tell you why. Number one, Lamar Jackson he's part of the game plan. You don't give the ball to Derrick Henry 15, 16 times. And he's your field general. He has to understand the strength of this club is hand the ball off to your horse. The Ravens are already talking about giving this guy an extension. Lamar Jackson is 1-5 in divisional games. And until he can shake that record from 1-5, the quarterback is always going to be held responsible whether you like it or not. There's always certain key plays in a game that the quarterback is going to make a mistake. It happens all the time. Now, he's a franchise quarterback. I'm going to say, is he totally to blame? No, I didn't say that. I'm saying partially. Everybody has to accept responsibility when you lose. How do you go ahead and play an immaculate game when you whip them 35-10? All of a sudden, you walk into Buffalo, albeit the weather wasn't very good. You're not going to get a suntan in that weather in Buffalo. And all of a sudden, the Bills came back and they bounced back and they're playing on Sunday.
Well, I'll tell you what. That's why the quarterbacks get all the money.
Right.
And we do have,
That's true.
We've got CFL players writing in here with regards to our poll questions. So I'm going to answer that in a second. Hang on, Aaron Crawford. But that's the point. I don't know how you can blame Lamar Jackson for a drop pass by Mark Andrews on the tying two-point convert. But it goes on the player's record, and Lamar Jackson makes all the money.
But how well was that pass thrown?
Yeah.
Again, you can't totally blame it because the weather plays a factor in games, especially when there's snow and elements involved. I'm talking to a guy that many years ago, before the Lions moved into the Pontiac Silverdome, I watched guys at Tiger Stadium in Detroit. And let me tell you, that was a tough place to play, too. Many people aren't old enough to know that they played there. You know, the Silverdome, and of course, now Ford Field. But I remember that was tough. Everybody likes football in the elements. Think about it. Buffalo Bills are building an outdoor stadium when they open their new place. Why? Because they know they have a prohibitive home field advantage out in Buffalo.
Well,
they're smart.
So the point here, quarterbacks, like goalies, get the majority of the credit when you win and the majority of the blame when you lose. And it was Parcells said it, John Lynch made it famous, your record is what you are.
Exactly.
But that pertains to coaches. Does that extend to quarterbacks too in your mind?
Absolutely, just like it does goaltenders. You blame a forward. What's your record as a forward for a so-and-so? But you have goaltenders and quarterbacks and pitchers are the three position players where you have a record attached to them. Period. No matter how you want to slice it, that's just what it is.
You're talking to an old goalie here, and let me just say, the goals against is a team stat. Save percentage is the individual stat. That's how I look at it, and that's how goalies look at it. That's all I'm saying. What?
And what about wins and losses?
That's my show. Don't challenge me.
I know it is. I'm going to challenge you wherever you want because that's why you bring me in here, to keep you honest. But wins and losses,
drives me crazy. My co-hosts down here drive me nuts. You, Serena, man, you're going to put me in the loony bin before long.
You haven't already put me in one? Seriously? Really? I know.
I'll be on his show tonight, the Sports Exchange.
And don't worry, we'll pick it
8 p.m. Eastern here on YouTube, the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network. So back to the poll question, which incidentally around 70% of the respondents on our EMJ marketing poll are saying no, the CFL and college football should not adopt the NFL UFL kickoff rule. 70% saying no.
Bomber Boy, watching in Calgary, says, having to declare that you intend to perform an onside kick is a football travesty. Well, that's another NFL brain genius.
Well, that's absurd.
Aaron Crawford, long snapper in the CFL. He's been a longtime supporter of mine and me of him. Hey, Aaron. He says CFL does special teams right. Plenty of player safety rules to limit contact injuries. However, special teams is part of the field position battle. All game, incredible player evaluation tool. So he's obviously saying it's good the way that it is. So why okay, well, number one, Dave Dickinson, your boss, Aaron, last I checked, says they should adopt the NFL kickoff. Why do you think the CFL is even considering it, given they would know what Aaron has just said? Right. It's a critical part of the game, great player evaluation tool. Why would you even consider fiddling with it?
Well, let me just say, you mentioned an interesting point. So I want to go back on this person here. Number one, you talk about the onside kick. The NFL is going to get rid of that rule, and they're talking about a 4th and 20. So anything you can do to get rid of that rule, I'm all for it. So I just want to make...
Which rule? The checking in on onside kick attempts?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, they better get rid of it.
Well, sure. All it does is favor the losing team. But, though, as much as you want to think it favors, I think only like 5 to 7% of the teams have already succeeded on it. So it's a useless play. That's going to be gone. Now, if Roger Goodell goes through with the competition committee, his plan that they'll do a 4th and 20, that's fair. I mean, everybody nowadays goes for it on 4th and 20. And if you... and it doesn't work, that's another story. Going back to the kickoff rule, as we pointed out before, then again, we've already talked about the relevance that it goes ahead and rules out injuries. Many years ago, they talked about getting rid of the kickoff at all, and all of a sudden there was a backlash, and they can't do that because I know what you can do with the kicker. But again, everything's all designed these days for safety. What few people don't understand is you have, obviously, the head injuries involved, right?
Okay, so... You say, what are they going to do with the kickers? They can still kick field goals and converts.
Yeah, but many years ago, they were thinking about getting rid. Well, that's true, they could kick field goals, but what are you going to do? Leave them out there stale, okay, and have them kick field goals? It's another story. But that never went very far. There was no traction to the whole thing. But you're talking about the head injuries, right? What about the disease that leads to it? I'm trying to remember what it was.
CTE.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. So you're dealing with head injuries, you're dealing with lawsuits. So I understand. I don't really have a problem with it because you're warning the team to, 30-yard line at least? So you, at 70 yards to get it figured out? So that's not a big deal. That's not as big a deal to me as the onside kick. It's a different animal.
That's ridiculous. I can't believe they ever adopted that. Who comes in with these rules? So hang on. Aaron Crawford continues. He is a CFL long snapper. He says offensive-minded coaches are going to opt for more controlled field position, makes the game easier to game plan. Special teams is controlled chaos. Well, now we're going back to the whole what side of the coin are you on? So the offensive coaches don't want it, but the special teams coordinators do. Who's going to win in the end? Okay, Jeff the Stamps fan. This is funny. Jeff the Stampeders fan says, Rod, stop trying to create controversy with the Stampeders. It's not going to work. Justin Duncan, Dave Hodge. It's not Dave Hodge. Have already tried. I don't even know what you're talking about. What controversy are you talking about? Jeff, you're dreaming. Lay off the... It's a little early to be drinking, isn't it, Jeff? Let's move on to the Final Four in the NFL this weekend. You're going to be watching at home, you said?
Yeah.
Because you're planning a big trip to Super Bowl.
Absolutely. A week from Saturday, we're leaving. How much you want to bet I get out of the gate at 3 in the morning?
I'm sure that you will. He's going to Super Bowl with his wife, Candy, the Rolls Royce. What do you call her? The Rolls Royce of women?
You can say that. She's definitely that.
You guys are heading to the Super Bowl.
Right.
Who's going to be in the game?
I've been saying all week, and I'm going to say it again. I have a feeling it'll be Kansas City and Washington. And I'll tell you why I'm going with Washington. Because back in 1992, they defeated the Detroit Lions in the NFC Championship game 41-10. If omens have a tendency to repeat themselves, they could go back again. But the one thing about the Commanders is they're on house money.
Mm-hmm.
They are. Whereas the Kansas City Chiefs, well, what do they have at repeat on the line. Will they get there? It's hard to tell, but I'm not betting against a champion until you knock them off. If Buffalo can walk in there and knock them off, it's another story, but that's not the question that you asked me. Right now, as you're asking me for a prediction, I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs and the Commanders.
I don't think I asked for a prediction, but that's okay.
But I'll give it to you.
The NFC Championship kicks off at 3 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. Washington Commanders at Philadelphia. The Eagles favored by 6. The AFC title game is at 6:30 Eastern. Buffalo at Kansas City. The Chiefs are favored by 2. What makes you think Washington would go into Philly and upset the Eagles?
Sometimes, Rod, you have a hunch. You just do.
How's your track record with picks?
Well, nobody's calling me for gambling advice. But I'm not also putting a point spread attached. I'm just going flat up zero with it. Just pick either or. I don't get involved in that stuff. I don't get paid to prognosticate. All I do is get paid to inform and let you people draw your own conclusions based on the information I give you.
902-518-3033, the number to text in. Ron, where'd it go? Ron in Calgary writes in. He says, hey, Rod, great show. Go Buffalo. Well, by the way, we got a minute or two here. I had a Detroit, Kansas City Super Bowl pick, and your Lions blew that. We haven't even talked about that. How did they lose that game?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 turnovers. Recipe for disaster. Goff throws 3 interceptions, strip sack, fumble, and another turnover. No way he could turn the ball over that many times. He had a bad day. But another reason why I think they also lost it, because it was a distraction, and Bill Belichick went online on record talking about it, is this. You can't have your coordinators distracted at all while they're interviewing for other jobs. Well, they have a job to do. I don't care what anybody says, okay? You can prepare these guys all you want, but if your mind's not all the way there, then that's a problem. And Bill Belichick, arguably the greatest coach of all time, said it, and he's right. Up until recently, they never conducted head coaches with a lot of these guys that were serious contenders until after the Super Bowl. If you wanted your guy, you had to wait. But they're doing it. I'm not going to say that's the reason. No, I'm not doing that. 5 turnovers is a recipe of disaster. And then I'll take it a step further. 5, and what about points scored off of turnovers? That's another story. Turnover is one thing, but points off turnovers, and you have a quarterback not having a very good day, can't blame Jahmyr Gibbs. He was fantastic.
There's a reason we call him the Motor City Madmouth, everybody, and you're realizing why. You've just explained. You Lions fans are far more controlled than I thought that you would be, because it was supposed to be your year. Hang on, we have a sports update coming up. Colin is watching in Ottawa. They're loving the football talk in Canada because everybody else is talking hockey today. And that's cool. Jeff Marek will with us coming up in hour 2, by the way, from the sheet from the Nation Network. Colin in Ottawa says the fact you can concede a point to your opponent if you don't get a kickoff out of your end zone is the prime reason more than 95% of CFL kickoffs are returned. Well, since we have a CFL special teams player watching, Aaron Crawford, would you go along with that, Aaron? I would suggest 95% of CFL kickoffs are returned because most kickers can't get it through the back of the end zone like NFL kickers do. They never certainly used to be able to. Now maybe they can because the kickers are better. And listen, the kickers will even tell you that. And Jeff, the Stamps fan, again, I'm not trying to stir up anything with the Calgary Stampeders. And I don't want to stir up anything. They were the last place team in the CFL this year, Jeff. Your Stampeders, don't blame me. We'll be right back. We're live on Game Plus Television, streaming live, and podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house. Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
We're having a great one today. Broadcasting live from South Florida, as you see. Brought to you by Culligan Water. What does the RP Show and the Chicago Blackhawks have in common? We're both brought to you by Culligan Water. Drink clean, live green, filter your water for a healthier tomorrow. Culligan Water of Regina. Visit CulliganRegina.com. To the sports update, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and Saquon Barkley are finalists for the Associated Press 2024 NFL MVP and Offensive Player of the Year awards. Josh Allen and Jared Goff also are MVP finalists, while Burrow is also in the running for Comeback Player of the Year. Jamar Chase and Derrick Henry are the other finalists for the Offensive Player Award. The winners will be announced at NFL Honors February 6th. The Motor City Mad Mouse Scott Morganroth will be there at Super Bowl in New Orleans. You see whose name is not on the MVP finalist list? Patrick Mahomes. Meanwhile, well, here we go. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes does not believe NFL officials are calling games to help his team win. That has been the national discourse following last week's divisional round matchup with Houston, in which the Texans were twice penalized for hits on the two-time NFL MVP. Yet most statistical breakdowns show that the opponents of Kansas City have benefited from flags than the Chiefs have over the years, including in games that come down to the wire. Asked whether he believes the Chiefs are getting more than their fair share of flags, Mahomes replied, "I don't feel that way." The sports update is for Landmark Cinemas, and Landmark Cinemas now Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Sonic the Hedgehog returns to the big screen in his most thrilling adventure yet. Starring Idris Elba, Keanu Reeves, and Jim Carrey, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is at Landmark Cinemas now. How do you feel about those comments from Mr. Mahomes?
They're one of 4 teams left. And don't sit here and tell that to the Houston Texans fans that feel like they got a raw deal. Now, albeit, as far as the MVP discussion, Mahomes didn't have as good a year, but he's won the award, so it doesn't make any difference. He's all about Super Bowls anyway. So don't tell that to the Texans fans, because I guarantee you, you're going to get an earful. So I'm not buying it. I'm sorry. This doesn't fly with me.
Gotcha.
That's as soft as I've spoken in a while.
Yeah.
I have to save the voice for later, too.
It will be on the air tonight with the Sports Exchange, South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network. I'm so excited to be part of that program tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, yourself and me. And unfortunately, George Eichhorn will not be able to join us tonight, the former producer of WXYZ Detroit. Which channel was that? 7?
Actually, 7, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, very good. I'm impressed.
I grew up watching it, man.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, did you get that? I shared a couple of tweets with you, and if you didn't retweet it, it's because I know you're in Chicago. But I actually sent you a tweet with the Lions that actually said that there was some pretty good interest in Windsor. I think you were out of town. I won't lean on you for that one. But Dan Campbell loved the interest from the people in Windsor across the border. I wanted to share it on your timeline.
I missed it. I was unaware.
Well, I know you were in Chicago. You get a pass on that.
Wayne in Victoria, BC writes in, he says, I think the Detroit Lions tried too many gimmick plays in their wild card playoff game. They may have lost anyway, but those plays didn't work, in my opinion. They didn't play a wild card playoff game.
No, but you know what? They did use a couple extra ones. But here's the thing I can say about that comment. You had a battle of coaches where you had the battle of 4th down coaches, and Dan Quinn beat Dan Campbell at his own game. And again, I reiterate, he was on house money. But Dan Campbell's been winning with this formula all year. Didn't work this time, so what? It happens. I mean, the biggest stat people should take away from what the Lions did as a 15-win team is they're the only ones, along with the Green Bay Packers, that have not won a playoff game by winning 15 games. 2 in NFL history. Straight plays, that's what got you there. How many games wouldn't you have won if you didn't use them?
Mm-hmm.
It happens. But Dan Quinn just beat Dan Campbell in his own game.
I'll tell you what, though. Back to where we started the show today. I feel like you're biased. You're too much of a Detroit Lions fan. You love them too much. You're too biased.
I think you're wrong about that. I grew up watching this team my whole life. I covered the Miami Dolphins. I've covered the Jacksonville Jaguars. I've always tried to be objective about who I am. I don't have a podcast in Detroit where I was mourning the loss of the Lions losing. I don't do that. I try to be impartial, but that happens. I try to be impartial. My job in the journalism business, folks, if you haven't had an opportunity to look at lessons from the microphone, tuning into the vision of
enduring vision of visionary leaders.
Right. A person on Amazon is you got to be objective. You really do. So I take that stuff out the window. I know where you're coming from. I don't know whether it's an egg. I don't mind it because it's true. You know, have you ever, you know what losing is like when you're in a locker room? It's like going to a morgue when somebody dies. Mm-hmm. So when the guys win, they're happy, and you get all the sound bites you want. But if they lose, they're not happy.
It's even better.
And it hurts.
Yeah. Well, the number one, I'm teasing you.
No, I know.
And you longtime viewers will know he's the John Frenzy of America. Just say so. I know how to push your buttons because he was my longtime broadcast partner in Canada. Hall of Fame, Rough Riders broadcaster. But what I'm saying is they've lost their offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, their defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn. And that's, can the football people weigh in? Are you with me? You lose coordinators, especially good ones, which they clearly are. I don't think they're that easy to replace. And you seem to think they just will.
I never said that they were that easy to replace. I never said that. I'm not going to go on record saying that they are easy to replace. But the one variable we do not know is Dan Campbell's been seeing this for the last year. And he got an extra year out of Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. Don't you think at some point he knew this day was coming, that he didn't have ideas about what guys are doing inside of his building, let alone the other ones that will be available? So you have to see what's out there. You have to go through the result to find out what the solution is. Called stimulus response is all it is. But again, as I reiterated earlier in our show, Rod, is these guys got 5-year contracts and a lot of money. We'll see whether they're a product, how long it takes. These guys had exceptional players the last 2 years with the Detroit Lions. They had that. Aaron Glenn overcame all those injuries because the Lions were loaded. They had 16 guys on injured reserve. What happens if you have Aiden Hutchinson and a few of those guys back? I'm not making an excuse. Injuries are a part of the game. But we'll see when Aaron Glenn has New York Jets talent versus what he had with the Lions and see if he's able to translate that, although he has to deal with Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
But that's beside the point.
All right. Listen, don't feed his ego. Okay? Don't feed his ego. John O'Flynn is watching in Vancouver. He says, shout out from Vancouver, BC. Great to see ye. Watching on BC's TELUS Channel 924 on the Game Plus Network 2. Great to see you in high definition. How do we look in HD? I bet you looked splendid.
Thanks. Well, it doesn't hurt that I'm wearing red.
Jeff, the Stamps fan, says this man should have a segment on prime time television. He is great.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. I know it bothers him when you say that, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Wayne in Victoria, BC says, I miss John Frenzy. I do too. He was like my surrogate dad. But I got Scott here. He's my boss now at the South Florida Tribune, where I write a column every week, the award-winning column. And we have big fun. And we will be on the air in prime time tonight, by the way, 8 p.m. Eastern, the South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network with the Sports Exchange. So, Jeff, you can join us there.
I don't have to call it an award-winning column. The guy is outright great. I enjoy reading his stuff. He knows how to break down 10 points better than anybody I've ever seen. He really does. It's not a matter of flattery. It's a matter of fact. In our business, the word fact matters a lot.
It used to.
Well, in my bulk, I'm old school. You see all this gray hair?
Yeah, this is going far too fast, by the way, but we want to get to his Bob Uecker stories. I'll talk about his book and talk about tonight's NHL games. I want to play breakaway bets with you, if that's cool. Clark, who won last night? Oh, wait. I'm back. I was 4-0 in picks last night, just so you know. Clark had 2 of 4. We'll be back with a mini overtime right after. They're playing sound effects. You can't hear them. That's my Bob Barker spinning the wheel of Fortune. Can you play it again? Now, Drew Carey. We'll be right back live on Game Plus Television, as you see, particularly in Vancouver. Streaming live and podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me and Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
That is just outside our doors. Highland Beach, Florida, as a matter of fact. Life is good down here, I'll tell you that. Okay, the Motor City Madmouth, Scott Morganroth, is with me. He's the publisher of the South Florida Tribune, author, all the rest. He's going to Super Bowl. We'll get into that next hour. But I'm going to read the same thing I read yesterday with Rod Black, the iconic Canadian broadcaster that was with us. Bob Uecker, the voice of his hometown Milwaukee Brewers, who after a short playing career earned the moniker Mr. Baseball and honors from the Hall of Fame before becoming a broadcaster with the Milwaukee Brewers, was laid to rest in his home state of Wisconsin. He passed, what they say, he was 90
years old.
Yeah, he was 90 from small cell lung cancer.
Right.
Played for the Braves, signed with the Braves in 1956, reached the majors finally in 1962. After a brief playing career, here it is, he became the voice of the Brewers until his passing.
Right.
Unreal at the age of 90. Tell me a Bob Uecker story. Your wife's from Milwaukee.
Well, number one, I'll tell you what's interesting about where he lives. My wife, Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. My wife was actually raised there. She was actually born in Indiana, but lived in Wisconsin her entire life. So he was actually lived in Menominee Falls. The only real story of Bob Uecker is when I met him down in Miami over at Lone Depot Park, back then Marlins Park. We spent a couple minutes. You know, in Milwaukee, he's guarded. You can't really get around the guy. But in Miami, he's fair game. And I talked to him for a couple of minutes, very polite, like any old-time broadcaster would be. And he's just iconic, you know. I only had a few pleasant minutes with him. You can't take photos when you're on the field because they're going to run you out there. So I have to be careful that I don't cross media boundaries that would get me into trouble. So you have to finesse it. But we talked for a few minutes, and he's a good guy. I mean, he meant a lot to that area. It really did, and he made more out of his broadcasting ability for a guy who was a catcher. And I love catchers because I was a catcher in Little League. And I was a pretty good one.
Speaking of, I was just with Joe Girardi a couple weeks ago. You saw that. Did you interview him?
I
with the
talked
Marlins?
to Joe Girardi.
What a great guy.
Oh, sure. I saw him up in the press box out in, I haven't had a chance to interview him, but we talked 5-10 minutes. Joe Girardi. Good pitchers are good people. We're smart. We manipulate umpires. We get in, we go out there and bother the batters, and we deliberately take mound visits we're not supposed to do. And back then, I was pretty smart when I was a kid because I did it all the time and got away with it.
We're going to take a brief pause. One more segment left with the Motor City Madmouth, Scott Morganroth from the South Florida Tribune. Jeff Marek's going to join us to talk some deep NHL stuff in hour two, segment two. Stick around, everybody. Get your questions in now, 902-518-3033. We'll see you right after this break.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
So what was it like coaching the Panthers in the 90s at the old Miami Arena? And he said it was in a bad end of town, and the police told him, when you come to a red light around the arena, don't stop. Keep rolling through because they'll come and steal your car. And he was driving an 86 Toyota Corolla. So he said he came up to a red light, and he didn't stop. He rolled through the red intersection, and some local yelled at him, "Don't worry, we wouldn't steal that piece of garbage."
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
I don't think I've ever...
Okay, here we go, everybody, and we are live, hour 2. Wherever you are around the world, welcome. Make yourself at home. 902-518-3033. The number's on the screen. If you're listening via podcast, take my word for it. Time is of the essence. We only have Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Badmouth, with us for one more segment. That's 16 more minutes. Oops, we're down to 15 minutes. Jeff Marek will join us from The Sheet. From the Nation Network, talking NHL coming up in the next segment. We've been talking. What have we been? You want to hit the quick 6 show horn, guys? And hang on. We'll reset what we've been talking about.
How about that?
We talked about it. Talked about NHL leftovers from last night. I won't tell you what Clark did in the picks. What I will tell you is I went 4 for 4. We talked about his Detroit Lions collapsing. He doesn't think that they are. You told your Bob Uecker story. We talked about the CFL. The poll question today is, should the CFL and college football adopt the NFL UFL kickoff rule? Nobody thinks that. Well, 70% are saying no on the EMJ marketing poll. And we had Calgary Stampeders long snapper Aaron Crawford
chiming in, which we enjoyed his take on the matter. We talked about the NFL's conference championship games this Sunday. Now, can I read you a question from the audience, please?
Go for it.
By the way, we will be live with his show tonight, the Sports Exchange, 8 p.m. Eastern on South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network. So if you can't get enough of this guy, tune in tonight at 8 Eastern. Troy's watching in Toronto. He says, I'm watching today on my phone, and thank God for that. Scott has a face for radio, but a personality for Hollywood. I don't agree with all his opinions, but he is entertaining. And then he says, I'm joking. Please don't scold me, Rod. You're good.
He's definitely joking. Well, I have an answer for that. Rod, okay, this is something I thought about. I know you're going to eat this up alive. This guy here to me is, let's see, pizzazz, okay, because that's what he is. And he's pretty. Yes, he's got a face for TV. You know what I am? I'm grit and grind and a face for radio. And now I'm forcing this visual stuff because of the way they do things.
The funny thing, by the way, Wayne in BC writes in, he says, you don't have to agree with everything a person says to like them or be entertained by them, Troy. And I just had a really nice comment from my good friend, Mydale Mike Lee. He goes, I watched your show. I was just very entertained. Because I'm not coming here to get informed. I'm here to be entertained. And I think we're doing that. I hope we are anyways. Now, we covered your Bob Uecker story. You don't think the Detroit Lions are in trouble. You've picked who to win in the conference championships? Philly?
Well, I'll go
Washington, KC.
Yeah, Washington and Kansas City. In fact, I'll go a step further in the MVP. I think Saquon Barkley should win the MVP.
Yeah, the finalists were announced today. Saquon Barkley, I'm not going to get into that.
Right.
We'll do that. We'll save that for the sports updates. What I want to talk about, this guy's got the best stories. He wrote an article. It's your second book. Or sorry, he wrote a book. It's your second book, right? Scott wrote a book, as your wife likes to say.
Right.
Lessons from the microphone. He's going to the Super Bowl. How many have you covered?
4. I'm going on number 5.
And where were they?
One in Jacksonville, which is unbelievable. I wish I would have had my minivan then, because I could have used it. I had a Jeep Cherokee back then. I had to put a sleeping bag in there because I had no hotels. I had 2 in Miami and 1 in Tampa.
2 in Miami,
and I should have had
Tampa.
1 in San Diego, but at that time I couldn't financially get out there.
So 4 Florida Super Bowls.
Right.
This is your first out-of-state Super Bowl that's going to be in New Orleans.
That is correct.
I think what's interesting, I'm not sure the NFL wants this talked about. Well, some guys are staying in the Waldorf Astoria or, like the Roosevelt in downtown New Orleans. Some people have lavish accommodations. Not everybody, right?
That's true.
There's literally thousands of media there.
Well,
there's
now
a
lot.
Yeah.
I go there mainly now, and I've covered 4 games, so I can say I've legitimately done.
You're legit.
Right, exactly. I'm going there for the networking, context, because I only know you can talk to a lot of people, do a lot of videos, a lot of photos. I'm not a big Instagram guy. He's way bigger than I am on Instagram. But I'm going to tell you one thing, a lot of these photos will be in Lesson from the Microphone Part 2 when I start working out later in the year.
I'm looking forward to it.
Got a funny story about your phone number, though. You know what I love about your phone number? The last 2 numbers are 33. That's my lucky number. You know what's even interesting about Super Bowl? My first number was, first Super Bowl was Super Bowl 33. And I covered 33 Detroit Lions game home and away. Wonder why I love the name 33? That's why I love the phone numbers there. 33 at the very end.
The first thing that popped into my mind was that it's Patrick Waugh's number. And so here's the other thing.
True.
He says to me, you're a bit of a one-trick pony, Rod. All you do is cover hockey. I'm like, that's all I want to cover.
No,
so thank you.
You're wrong. I'll tell you why I could disagree with you now, because I know about your CFL background. You know how to cover football up there.
Yes.
That is a fact. I know you tend to make your way over at FAU games, but you are primarily a one-trick pony. If I could get this guy to go to an auto racing, you think he's got it bad now. Get in front of me over at an auto racing, then you'll see how much octane I have there when I'm going out there talking drivers' ears off and then really having a field day with the content these people are willing to give me.
Bob McAllister's watching in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. He writes in and he says, the Motor City Mad Mouth is the best guest always.
Thank you.
Don't pump his head too much.
You don't have to, but thanks for the compliment.
It's big enough. Okay. You know what? Can we talk college football for a second?
Absolutely.
Tell me if I completely have this. Because I said to him when we first got to know each other, which was in the summertime, I said, I find college football a little overwhelming. It's so immense. You're like, it's not that big a deal. you were raised in the American football environment. I was not. And the way it is now, I look at this school here. He mentioned FAU. I go to the Florida Atlantic games.
Right.
They are what you would call a have-not school.
That's true.
Okay. They're losing players because they don't have NIL money. And I don't know the AD. You do. What's his name?
Brian White.
Brian White. But I can imagine he's saying, I thought we were supposed to be a school, a university, not raising money to pay players. That's what it's become.
Well, if you ever go to their stadiums, they're half empty.
It's a beautiful stadium.
But I love Howard Schnellenberger, their original coach. He was a father to me. Tom Herman went nuts and wanted to get an offensive coordinator job somewhere else in a major school. How did it work out for Chip Kelly, by the way? Left UCLA to go to Ohio State. Got a championship at the age of 61. But you'll see a different trend with more OCs coming from the head coaching ranks. But FAU's a great school potential, but you've lost Tom Herman and Dusty May.
That's the basketball coach, the second.
Right. But you know what? The most you could give Dusty May was $1 million. And what happened with U of M, Michigan? Okay. 3.7. And if you're spoiled being a Wolverines guy, you should be. They're the all-time winningest coach in program history at 1,011. They just came out of this season here with a mediocre 8-5 record. But few people realize that their last two games, were against. Two wins were against Ohio State, the eventual national champion, and Alabama, number 11. So they beat two teams in the top 15 at the very end, and Sharon Moore's going to have a class that's loaded. But getting back to your FAU, they are have-not. And I don't think they're going to be a have anytime soon. You can bring in a young offensive mind. What's going to happen? He's building a team. What do you have? You got Lane Kiffin recreated. He's gone somewhere else.
So
that's the best coach you can get here.
If you've just tuned in your television or screen and you're wondering what's this fire coming out of the screen, it's the Motor City Madmouth, Scott Morganroth, America's John Frenzy. So my point, by the way, this is the difference between the way Americans think, sports fans, and Canadians think, sports fans. You guys don't seem to have a problem with the fact that the team that spends the most wins it all. OSU. You don't seem to have a problem with that. Whereas in Canada, right, everything's got to be even. Everything's got to be fair. We all have to play in the same rules. That's not the American way. And I'm not saying one's right or wrong.
Well, don't tell that to Paul Feinbaum, who ripped Ohio State for winning a $20 million national championship. And he's actually right. The only thing I differ with him a little is at least they did it beating, actually having a playoff system, and they kept knocking out the SEC. And the SEC for the last 2 years doesn't have a championship in their pocket. Every time everybody's talking about SEC, well, he's guess what? They had to play credible team one after another, and they got shut out, and they got shut out badly. But everything you're saying is on point.
That's what I've learned in the last 4 years of being here, right, is that. And I guess I'm a little put out that the school that plays right down the street from my house is never going to be good. You know what I mean? And they can't get any players. They can't get any good coaches. Sorry, but it's true.
Well, Ajonte Wester was one of their better players at FAU. Where did he wind up going? Colorado, over Deion Sanders.
Cowboys going to hire him?
No. Kellen Moore or Ryan Schottenheimer are your two odds-on favorite. I like Kellen Moore, but Ryan Schottenheimer is a viable alternative.
Okay. I just had to interject there.
It's okay. It's a good point.
Just had to cut off the Motor City Badmouth before the train just keeps steaming down the track, you know?
That's a fair question. I like it.
We are going to, you're going to have to go here right away in about 6 minutes. So
all right,
we're going to get to the NHL here because it is Canada. We've talked a lot of football today. We talked a lot of CFL in hour one. So if that's what you want, rewind. But tonight we're going to talk about Connor McDavid's 3-game suspension.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
You want my take, but what's yours?
I think the NHL made an example out of him. I really do.
Continue.
That's all I have to say. I'll save it for later.
He don't want to give up the goods.
No.
He wants to save it for his own show.
Well, no. I gave you a teaser. I think the NHL made an example out of this guy. I really do.
I can't say that you're wrong, but I don't like it.
Nobody had to like it. You're asking me a question. I gave you a direct answer.
What would you have done if you were the NHL in this instance?
I have to study the incident. I haven't had a chance to look at all I know about it.
It's actually pretty cut and dried. I mean, I wasn't watching the game. We were in Chicago at the Blackhawks Golden Knights that night and didn't have Hockey Night in Canada in the hotel. Go figure. But with 3 seconds to go in the game, you Oilers fans or NHL fans in Canada, tell me if I have this wrong. But Connor McDavid was tired of getting mauled, harassed, held, hog-tied by Connor Garland. So I saw the clip. He just turned it across here, right? And everybody's saying you can't hit somebody in the face with a stick rod, even if it's Connor McDavid. Again, difference between Canada and America. In America, there's different rules for different people. I said it yesterday. How come Tom Brady can own a team and be a broadcaster? That is legitimately against the rules. But because it's Tom Brady, he can't. And
Player safety, Rod.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, a cross-check isn't what you call a punch. It's a cross-check with a weapon. It's a deadly weapon. You don't blame me. Go back in the history books when Henry Boucher ended the career, or actually had his career ended by a butt end of a stick of Dave Forbes. I was old enough to know that.
This could be a deadly weapon. Like, give me a break, man.
Well, it's a deadly weapon anytime I get behind it.
Do you know who Ed Whalen is?
No.
He was the legendary voice of Stampede Wrestling. He would take his microphone, threaten to hit the guys on the head with it. That's what I'm close to doing, Scott.
It won't matter.
It might make you smarter.
Hey, I'm all for it at this point. I don't care.
Are you ready for NHL breakaway bets?
Go ahead.
We pick the games. We don't put any money on the line. It's a little thing that I invented called sport betting. It's like sport fishing. Like I did with my friend Brent here. You catch the fish, but you put it back. We bet. We don't put any money on the line. If you're ready.
Go ahead.
Columbus Blue Jackets at the Carolina Panthers tonight. What do you think?
I'm going Panthers.
Sorry, Carolina Hurricanes. That's on me.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Columbus at Carolina. You're still going Hurricanes?
Yeah,
me too.
Carolina.
Columbus just destroyed the Leafs last night. Sorry, Clark. Probably will be a little bit of fatigue involved there. Rod and Scott both picking Carolina to beat Columbus tonight. Montreal at your Detroit Red Wings. Original 6 matchup.
I see the Red Wings bouncing back. I really do. I think they're going to play much better.
I'll take Montreal because they're the hottest team in the NHL.
Okay.
Since December 17th. If you read the South Florida Tribune, you'd know that.
I will look at it later. But I'm only going with the Red Wings. They got Todd McClellan as the coach. And I think that they look like the Dead Wings when they played Montreal last time they faced each other.
We got to go quick now. Jeff Merrick coming in next from the sheet, from the Hockey, the Nation Network. Ottawa at Boston. Who wins?
I'll go with Boston.
I'm going to take Ottawa.
Okay.
Philadelphia at the New York Rangers.
Gotta go with the Rangers. They're just freaking playing better.
He is. I'm going to take Philly, though. Utah at Minnesota.
I'm going to go Minnesota.
Me too. Vegas Golden Knights at St. Louis.
I'm going Vegas.
Me too. Buffalo Sabres at the Calgary Flames.
I got some good vibes from Calgary people today. I'll go with Calgary.
I'm going to take Buffalo just because I can.
Okay.
The Vancouver Canucks at Edmonton in the rematch. Oh, my God. No McDavid, though. Who do you like?
I'm going to go Vancouver because of that reason.
Edmonton's pissed off. And for that reason, I'll take the Oilers. Washington and Seattle.
I got to go Seattle.
Caps for me, hottest team in the NHL, baby. Well, Montreal is, but they got the longest win streak. He says Seattle.
I'm glad you
Pittsburgh.
disagree. Let me know how.
Pittsburgh and Anaheim.
You know what? I'm going to go Pittsburgh.
Okay, you can have them. I will take the Ducks and Nashville at San Jose. Toilet Bowl.
You know what? I'm going to go San Jose.
I'll take Smashville. Okay, that's it.
You're really doing that to disagree with me.
That's exactly right. They're both bad.
Okay.
We have less than a minute. Plug your show tonight, please.
All right. Sports Exchange, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, South Florida Tribune. Rod and I will have a lot of good hockey topics. Hope you can join us, South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed, look it up on YouTube. Please subscribe. And you can see Rod and I every Thursday night. Appreciate it. He's the best co-host on the planet, and I enjoy being on the show when we get the chance to do this.
He's the best. Great show, Big Dog.
Thank you, buddy.
The Motor City Mad Mouse Scott Morganroth. We'll be right back with Jeff Merrick from the sheet after this. We're live on Game Plus Television. Hey, hang on. Aaron Crawford from the Calgary Stampeders, long snapper, writes in. He says, love the show. Ample variety, both in content and personalities. Have a good one, gents. Thanks, Aaron. I would say the same about you. Appreciate you tuning in. We try. We'll be right back. Also streaming live and podcast wherever the best podcasts are found.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Ladies and gentlemen, transform your audience with powerful presentations from EMJ Marketing's elite speakers. Check out their website for more information at emjmarketing.com. And also, sports fans, join the Rod Squad newsletter today. Stay ahead of the game with exclusive insights, updates, contests, and exclusive content delivered straight to your inbox. Sign up for free today at rodpeterson.com. Now, I don't know exactly what's going on. That's not rare. But Clark has just informed me they're trying to get another setup to bring in Jeff Marek, and he's not ready now. So you let me know when he is, because I got a list of things I want to go through with him. I love that you people love the Motor City Mad Mouse Scott Morganroth so much. And you don't understand, but you trust me because that's why you're watching this show, clearly. The guy is America's John Frenzy Lynch. He is. That's how I know how to deal with him. I know what buttons to push. Right down to bringing me notes. I'm like, I don't care about your notes. Lynch was always giving me envelopes with his notes. I don't need notes. But they want to get. I just take him now. You know, I used to say to Lynch, I don't need your notes, Lynch. I just take him from Scott. You know what I mean? And the things that I'd like to get through with Jeff Marek, because he wanted a list of topics. This is a little odd, guys. I expected to have him on the air now. What? You're experimenting with a new way of bringing him on? I don't understand. Like, go with it that he's not ready? So, the biggest game of the night, it's not even the game of the night, it's the game of the year, is the Vancouver Canucks at the Edmonton Oilers. And I guess I'm going to sit here and tap dance for the next 40 minutes. Yeah, You know, this is not Ty Domi, Bob Probert, but it's pretty damn good. I mean, listen, Oiler fans, can you write in? Can you help me out? Let me ask me what you expect tonight at Rogers Place. And this tells me all I need to know about Rick Tocchet. I've never met him, been around him, certainly when he was coaching the Arizona Coyotes. I got a lot of great friends that are great friends with him. Rich Sutter, you know, leads the way, played with him in Philadelphia, thinks he walks on water. And he said in advance of this game tonight in Edmonton that he would rather play the Oilers with Connor McDavid than without because he's a star in the league. Not everybody would say that. You know, that seems elementary, doesn't it? But it's not. That's a class guy that says something like that. And a guy that respects the game. I also want to talk about Four Nations Face-Off. Because here we are. This is my first day really alone in this studio with it's just you and me where I can really share some really good stories. And the other night, we're in the Blackhawks alumni suite at the Chicago-Vegas game. Chris Chelios is in there already. And if you were watching, I guess it was it yesterday? Whatever day it was, I said Serena just stared at Chelly, because he's Chelly with us now. For the first 30 minutes, she just stared at him. If you know her, you wouldn't be surprised. And then this guy comes in, he goes, "Hi, I'm Grant." I didn't catch the name, but I'm thinking I'll pick it up as the evening goes along, who this guy is. And it turns out it's Grant Mulvey. As I would learn, former Calgary Centennial from Merritt, BC, like he thought I wouldn't even know where that is. I'm a guy. And we got talking. We got talking about U.S. hockey. Grant Mulvey played in the 70s and 80s with the Blackhawks and was on the RPM line. Terry Ruskowski, Rich Preston, Grant Mulvey, RPM. Oh, my God. They had to peel me and Granny apart by the end of the night. So we got talking about Canada hockey versus USA hockey, and all he said, he had this look in his eye, man, like this Four Nations face-off is going to decide hockey supremacy on the globe, minus, of course, Russia. But now we have Jeff Marek ready to go from the sheet, from the Nation Network. And I guess that was in the list of topics. Maybe we'll start there, Jeff Marek, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I don't, like in America, nobody even knows what it is. Nobody knows what it is.
I know.
Of America.
I know.
But the Canadians are frothing, dude.
Isn't it kind of this way as well around the World Juniors? Although now the United States has kind of warmed up to the idea of what this entire thing is and how meaningful it is. And part of me wants to say, on the one hand, Americans love winning the World Juniors, the U20s. On the other hand, I don't know whether they love winning it or they just love beating Canadians. Like, I don't know what's more of a victory for the United States, but I think the United States has a better handle on what the U20s is like, well, it's just a development tournament for kids. But you're right, like the Four Nations face off so far, and we'll see what happens when we get closer to it. And, you know, the players have talked about this, like they're not focused on it. There's still no buzz about it. There's no group chats amongst all the players. They're still competing. We'll see what happens when we get closer here. But I'll tell you what, watching Jacob Markstrom go down yesterday and hearing Sheldon Keefe say that he's going to be out for some time here. Linus Ullmark just went on LTIR. Now he can come off at any time. All of a sudden, if you're Sweden, you're saying to yourself, hang on a second here. Maybe we thought we had a shot at this thing. Maybe those chances have been diminished a little bit. But it does underscore one thing as well here, Rod, and I'll turn the recreation back to you. Injuries may just be the wild card in all of it. And that is why I think a lot of teams are sort of pulling up short and a little hesitant about pulling the trigger on big trades, because who knows who could get injured at this thing.
You're the guest, so you take as much time as you want. You come into my house, you make yourself at home. But I'm serious. The Doug McLean was on our Panthers podcast we do out here, Panthers Lightning, yesterday. And he goes, Four Nations Face-Off. He goes, as a fan, excited as hell. He goes, as a GM, I'd have been a basket case. Worried about injuries. Right? How much you hearing about that?
Well, yeah, I'm hearing the exact same thing. I think everybody, let me give you a couple of examples. The Ottawa Senators will go down as, the Ottawa Senators of between 2005 to maybe 2009 are probably going to go down as one of the greatest teams to never win the Stanley Cup. And one of the reasons why, as you can well recall, Dominik Hasek and his angel hair pasta groin at the Olympics when he went down, and then he came back to Ottawa and he wouldn't even get on the ice. I can remember the Ottawa Senators, everybody with the organization, Rod, begging Hasek, just try, see how, and that scotched their chances at winning a Stanley Cup. Islanders with John Tavares as well. There is kind of a track record here of players getting injured, and that ends up completely starching that club team's chances of winning the Stanley Cup. It is, and that's why as much as GMs will say it's just all-star game is this and all-star game is that, it's not really much of a competition. That's by design. They don't want any of their players getting hurt. They want them to go and play a little bit hungover so no one gets hurt and everything's really slow. Injuries are going to be the wild card in all of this. And there's going to be one team that sees their Stanley Cup hopes diminish because of this thing. And listen, if it's going to be a goaltender, you cross your fingers for Winnipeg and hope that it's not going to be them.
Yeah, of course. Well, it's an NHL-sponsored event, a money grab, some will say. I'm just going to watch it and be a fan. That's what I'm going to do. Speaking of, Vancouver at Edmonton tonight. Game of the year?
It is one of the most interesting games of the year. I think what's funny, Rod, I just think we saw the game of the year so far Saturday afternoon as part of Hockey Day in Canada. That Ottawa-Boston game had a little bit of everything in it. Drama, violence, skill, stupidity. It had everything you want in a hockey game. But this one's going to be must-watch television tonight. I don't know if it has all of the earmarks, Rod, of line brawl off the opening face-off, but would it surprise you? Considering the history, the animosity, we've seen it happen before, Vancouver, Calgary, Tortorella, Hartley. We've seen Washington and the New York Rangers after the Wilson, Panarin, Bushnevich incident. But I do wonder about this one. I think both teams will be told, we have an extra eye on you, so maybe don't do this. But I do wonder what happens when that puck drops tonight between these two teams. I really do.
It's the curiosity factor. You got to tune in to find out. As I said last hour, this is not Probert Domi MSG. Okay, but we're never going to have those days again. In today's NHL, this is as good as it gets, though.
And not to sound too much like a Cro-Magnon here. Marek, you've got scabs on your knuckles. Did you walk over to the place? I kind of miss that. Not every game. But, every now and then there became there's going to be a showdown and it's going to be these two guys. Even going back to, Memorial Cup days, Saskatoon and Peterborough, where there was who's really the toughest in Canada? Is it Ty Domi in Peterborough? Is it Kevin Kaminsky with Saskatoon? There were those curiosities that used to exist in hockey. The Domi Probert one is a great one. The Probert Crowder, Dave Brown, Stu Grimson, the second fight in that Edmonton home and home with the Calgary Flames. And you're right. That's gone. Maybe the closest thing we have to it is everybody knew last night at Scotiabank in Toronto that Ryan Reeves and Matthew Olivier were going to fight. It was an empty calorie fight. It didn't mean anything other than Ryan Reeves was feeling the heat because he hadn't fought all season long, and Matthew Olivier was only too happy to oblige. Maybe that's one of the closest things we're going to get to.
You know, number one, the last time you were on, you reminded me of the success you've had because you're very good at what you do. But I also feel like a bit of a kindred soul thing here, like with Matt Rempe. I'm a fan. You seem like you would be a fan. Are you?
I am intrigued by Matt Rempe. I'm intrigued that, I mean, I shouldn't be. Like, when I think of Matt Rempe, you know who I think of? Because I see him in the Rangers jersey, and he's such a cult favorite. Every time he hits the ice, there's like a buzz at MSG. And you'll remember Nick Fotiu. Nick Fotiu with the New York Rangers was loved. Nick Fotiu and his dad used to sit up in the back of MSG and was like a longtime New York Rangers fan and a Golden Glove boxer, like toughest player in the NHL at his time, loved by Rangers fans. Nick Fotiu would, at the end of warm-up would shoot pucks, not just a little bit over the glass, but would aim like up at the top where him and his dad used to sit. And Rangers fans loved him. Like there's a unique bond that fans have with players who fight, with players that are tough, that are players that are there to do the policeman's role. And that's why, and I've heard this from, you ask Doug McLean about it, Doug will tell you the same thing. It's really tough when those guys get traded. It's tough emotionally on them because of how much they put their bodies in harm's way for that team and that fan base. And it's hard to get that back when you go to another team. And fans hold those guys sacred. That's why I find the phenomenon really interesting because, again, you don't see it very often in the NHL anymore. And I do see shades of Nick Fotiu at MSG when I see Matt Rempe.
Tim Hunter will tell you the hardest he's ever been hit was by Nick Fotiu at MSG. Broke his helmet.
Really?
Tim Hunter, no, it was by Fotiu. Punched him and broke his helmet in two. And it ain't close.
Yeah, that was Joe Kocur. Kocur was the same way. Kocur hit for keeps. Yeah, he was a Tyson puncher. He was, absolutely. Sorry, Rod, go ahead.
No, you're good. Last one, Jeff, because I'll let you go. You got to get ready for your show. Where do we go with this? I think the one thing I had on the list was the Capitals. Like, they came out of nowhere for me. Did they for you?
Yeah. They did. I didn't see this one coming. All the moves that they made in the offseason have all paid off. Like, don't look now, but all of a sudden, like, Jacob Chychrun has himself in line for a massive payday. Like, would it surprise you if in the offseason he signs a $7 million AAV? I don't think it would surprise anybody. He's having that type of season, right? And who amongst us thought that we were going to see this version of Pierre-Luc Dubois as everybody in Los Angeles, Winnipeg, and Columbus say to themselves, where was that guy? Where was that guy? And it's not just Ovechkin either. Like when Ovechkin went out of the lineup, like this team really just didn't miss a beat. A lot of it is credit to Spencer Carberry. I think you have to give credit to Logan Thompson as well, who's been exceptional. I mean, we're all handing the Vezina Trophy to Connor Hellebuck, and rightfully so. He's got a great shot at being like the race for the Vezina is for second place. He's got a good shot at finishing second here. Everything the Capitals did in the offseason has worked to the point where you talk about, the race for second. Spencer Carberry is going to win the Jack Adams as the coach of the year. What he's done with this team is marvelous. They have a great pipeline between Hershey, the American League affiliate for the Washington Capitals, and there's more coming. We all saw Ryan Leonard, who should probably be playing in the NHL right now. And we all saw Cole Hudson as well, who's not too far away. So I don't think this is just a flash in the pan either. Like, I don't know if they're going to stay up around the top of the standings. Not willing to go that far. But as far as, are the Capitals, have they rejuvenated themselves? Are they still going to be a competitive team? Absolutely. I see no reason why not.
Please plug your new show, Jeff, before we let you go.
No. Bless you. 3 o'clock Eastern every day on our Daily Face-Off YouTube channel. It is The Sheet. Runs for 60 minutes. I do a blog every Monday as well. And it's it's hockey tie. It's like, to me, it's like whatever the big power topic is of the day, that's going to get the most currency. And still, like, the biggest topic still today was the biggest topic from a couple of days ago, and that is Connor McDavid. And as you mentioned, and rightfully so, the headliner is tonight. Even without Tyler Myers and even without Connor McDavid, Vancouver and Edmonton. By the way, Rod, let me flip it on you here. Did you not find it a little bit odd that the Edmonton Oilers put out that statement 2 nights ago, talking about how disappointed they were with the suspension, etc.? Meanwhile, here's Evan Bouchard, who just got cross-checked in the face, and not a peep about him. And the Edmonton Oilers were like, if I'm Evan Bouchard, I'm like, I just got popped in the chicklets here. I just got popped in the jibs. Like, any kind of like, we stand with you too, Evan Bouchard? Nothing. It was.
I reason that with the whole world's gone nuts, and none of it makes sense. So I don't think about it too much anymore. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate you.
Maybe we should all just cheer for chaos. Why not? Thanks, Rod. We'll talk soon, pal.
There we go. Jeff Marek from The Sheet Daily Faceoff coming up at 3 p.m. Eastern. Tune it in. You'll love it. We'll be right back with a sports update and viewer take over the rest of the day. What an emotionally charged program today. We'll be right back on Game Plus TV, streaming live and podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Back at it on the old RP show. Where do you want to go from here, caller? Where do we go from here? Got a lot of sports things to get to on a, as I said before the break, an emotionally charged day. And it will be an emotionally charged night at Rogers Place in Edmonton tonight. Must-see TV, as Jeff Marek said. Dave, what number are you, Dave? Dave, number 2, I think, in Winnipeg, writes in on the text line 902-518-3033. He says, hey, Rod, I thought the Garland mauling was worth a penalty, obviously, but I also thought it was smart. Less than 10 seconds left, you're up by a goal. The best player in the world is swarming around trying to score. Darn rights I'm going to preoccupy him, especially if we've lost 9 of the last 12. On top of that, I really don't think anything is going to happen tonight. Both players were suspended for 3 games, eye for an eye. Here's the thing for that. Nothing's going to happen tonight, but I don't think anybody going to the rink or tuning on the television thinks there's going to be a line brawl as soon as they drop the puck, as Jeff Marek just said. It's not about that. The key figures in this situation are out. Tyler Myers suspended. Connor McDavid suspended. What are you going to do? They're mad. The Oilers are mad at the NHL. They're not mad at the Vancouver Canucks. There's a big difference, but it's still going to be a hell of a game. Would we not agree? That is by far the game of the night. And again, game of the year by virtue of what happened in Vancouver Saturday night. But it's funny because it's the one thing I don't understand about the NHL. On one hand, they don't want hijinks. And I don't know why. I don't know why. They just don't want that anymore. So they've trimmed down the season series, like the Panthers and Lightning down here in Florida only play 3 times to eliminate stuff like this. Yet on the flip side, that's what everybody's talking about. You know what? I've never understood that, but that's why I'll never be a commissioner, never work in the league office. What's not to like about this kind of stuff? I've never got that. And which, by the way, I mean, here on Game Plus TV airing in Canada, it's funny. We spent an hour and 20 minutes with the Motor City Madmouse, Scott Morganroth. And you tell me, everybody, what you think. I don't normally solicit other people's opinions. If I can ask for yours. Scott runs this South Florida Tribune, and I write about the NHL for him every week. Because it's easy for me. It's fun to analyze hockey. That's my number one thing. Played it, coached it, reffed it. I know it inside out. Football is stressful for me because I never played it. Was around it long enough to pick things up and understand it, but it was stressful. And so Scott has said to me privately, I don't mind saying it on the air. He's like, Rod, you're a bit of a one-trick pony. I'd like to get you out covering college football and college basketball. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I only want to talk about hockey. That's it. Is that wrong? I think at my age, I've earned that. Which reminds me this morning, I'm running my usual 5 miles. I'm trying to up it at LA Fitness. This young man, I come out of the sauna. I'm that guy now, old balls. I think there's a term for it. I come out of the sauna and I said to the guy, would you mind? Sorry, I got to get to my locker. He goes, no problem, man. I'm just trying to keep up to you. I'm like, and what am I?
How about that?
He goes, well, what? He goes, well, what are you? Just trying to keep up? When I'm your age, I hope I'm going like you are. I'm like, I said, how old are you? He goes, 43. I said, I'm 52. Shouldn't be that hard. But I said, one day at a time. I was just a little taken. Do I look? Maybe I do. I don't.
locker room conversations. This one was odd. And I've had a few of these conversations. Sports up. So should I cover more sports than just hockey? I don't want to. Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and Saquon Barkley are finalists for the Associated Press 2024 NFL MVP and Offensive Player of the Year awards. Meanwhile, Josh Allen and Jared Goff are also MVP finalists, while Joe Burrow is in the running for Comeback Player of the Year. Jamar Chase and Derrick Henry are the other finalists for the Offensive Player Award. The winners will be announced at NFL Honors on February 6th. A nationwide panel of 50 media members who regularly cover the league completed voting before the playoffs began. The Motor City Mad Mouse, Scott Morganroth, will be at the Super Bowl in New Orleans, and he'll be coming on. Might be at the awards that night, and he'll be coming on this show from Super Bowl. So be ready for that, Clark. He's warned us. The RP show will be live at Super Bowl with Scott. You know, Rod, you could come to the Super Bowl with us if you covered football more. I'm good. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes does not believe NFL officials are calling games to help his team win. That has been the national discourse this week following last week's divisional round matchup with Houston, in which the Texans were twice penalized for hits on the two-time NFL MVP. Yet most statistical breakdowns show that the opponents of Kansas City have benefited from flags than the Chiefs have over the years, including in games that come down to the wire. Asked whether he believes the Chiefs are getting more than their share of flags, Mahomes replied, "I don't feel that way." I would say this. What do you expect him to say? From the NBA, Jimmy Butler has been suspended by the Miami Heat for the second time in 3 weeks, this time for 2 games. The team says it suspended Butler for what it described as a continued pattern of disregard of team rules and conduct detrimental to the team. It came after Butler missed the Heat's flight to Miami on Wednesday. I guess they were coming home from a road trip. Butler was earlier suspended for 7 games for conduct detrimental to the team. He has told the Heat in recent weeks that he wants a trade. The new suspension adds to the possibility Butler has played his last game for Miami. I'm going to tell you, it's when they're not crying about the Dolphins, they're whining about this down here. And you listen, I was kind of laughing because I thought the Heat were like a big grease fire, dead last. No, that's the Raptors. The Heat are actually in a playoff position despite all this. Sports update is for Seat Giant. Stop paying U.S. dollars for games and concerts. Canadian-owned and operated with Canadians in mind. Super Bowl, college football, Taylor Swift, Justin Timberlake. They've got it all. Use promo code RPShow for 15% off now. Check them out at seatgiant.ca. Overtime's next, and it's all your comment. I want to hear from you. We'll be right back here on Game Plus Television, streaming live and podcast wherever the best podcasts are found.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
All right, welcome back, everybody. That is a live look in South Florida. That white truck really gets around, I'm telling you. Overtime is the segment and is brought to you by our friends at Overtime Hockey Lanes. If you're looking for the perfect place to perfect your shot, look no further than Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. With state-of-the-art shooting lanes, top-notch equipment, it's the ultimate training destination for players of all ages and skill levels. Whether you're prepping for the big game or just want to have fun, Overtime Hockey Lanes has got you covered. Check out their website at overtimehl.ca. Flames are home tonight to the Buffalo Sabres. So maybe if you're going into the game, why don't you stop by Overtime Hockey Lanes a little ahead of time, 28th Street Northeast, Calgary. I invited all the comments from the viewers, and you're going to love them. Just to give you a little idea how we deal with stuff. Pencil Man Sports writes in. Pencil Man Sports. He's from South Florida. He says, "What's going on, Rod? I missed Scotty Slapper?" You did. He was only with us for an hour and 20 minutes off the top of the show, so sorry you missed him.
How about that?
Dan Asham's watching in Winnipeg. He says, would Jonathan Toews be the player to take the Jets to the Stanley Cup Finals? I'm intrigued by the Jonathan Toews story. I'll be honest. I'm married to a professional performance sports coach, nutrition coach, fitness. I know it's hard to believe, but I am. She says very hard for Toews to come back for the amount of time he's been out. She's a huge Jonathan Toews fan, but come on. It's been years. It would be something. Maybe that'll be it now. It won't be a topic for tomorrow because it's a Football Friday tomorrow with Jim Barker. And Dan in Winnipeg wants to know, is there still snow there in Florida, Rod? Well, you just saw the shot. There's none where I live. And there will never be any where I live. Regarding Connor McDavid being suspended, B. Henderson in Winnipeg writes in and says, if Connor McDavid doesn't fight back, every team will do the same thing Garland did. It'll get out of hand for more desperate teams. The NHL does not need to explain themselves for why they suspended him 3 games. But I'm like, you must know this. It was in my commentary the other day. Sometimes you got to fight to be a man. And you can't fight, so use your stick.
Glenn in Medicine Hat writes in, and he says, lots of WHL chatter about Gavin McKenna's 20-game point streak as if it's all world. Pretty sure PA Raiders' Jeff Nelson went 56 straight about 35 years ago. Hang on a sec. I'll tell you a little story about Jeff Nelson, as I am Prince Albert Raiders alumni, as is my dad. I think it's the only team we both worked for. No, we both worked for the Pats. But in the 57th game, the officials gave Jeff Nelson a phantom assist, and he goes, I don't want it. The scorekeepers in the Communiplex in Prince Albert were going to give him a phantom assist. He goes, nope, I didn't earn that assist. Streak ends. Talking about the Motor City Madmouth, saying I'm a one-trick pony, only wanting to talk hockey, cover hockey. Jeff the Stamps fan writes in, he goes, you also cover CFL. That's enough for me. Wayne in BC says, thank God you cover the CFL, NHL, and NFL, which are all the leagues that I'm interested in. I was guilty of something this morning, I'll tell you. I saw the headline, Riders release a Joe. And I went with it, and I just thought, well, like the 18 other teams that have cut him, what did he do this time? And I posted it to our Facebook page, and I'm like, thinking that he was released and he's on the street. And they're like, no, Rod, he's signed in the NFL. What? Okay. Just to give you an idea, again, our lives. Darcy writes in Grand Prairie and says, Twitter is abuzz with Alonzo and Scherzer to the Jays rumors. You should know better, bro.
I like it.
We're Jays fans in season, and if they're winning. Off-season rumors, homie, don't play that game. Not here. Freddie in Winnipeg writes in. He says, where did the time go? Great show today, Rod. I'm going to your website and sign up to your newsletter to get more edumacation. LOL. Oh, I got some really good stuff coming for you. Some really good stuff coming for you this weekend. Ron in Calgary writes in with regards to what I cover and want to cover. Ron says, Rod, you do Rod. That's the point. And maybe another day we'll talk. Though we don't have time to do it now. We're in the last minute of play in today's show about why that's going to be successful for me, because you're all still here trying to be something. Everything for everybody ain't going to work. Ricky Nelson had it right. Ricky Nelson. Can't please everybody, so you got to please yourself. Can't please everyone. I talk NHL and hockey because it's second nature to me. It's like in my DNA. It's like breathing. And I cover football because, as one of my advisors said, it's my business. CFL because I love the league, but I'm not purporting to be an insider. Glenn in Moose Jaw, formerly of Moose Jaw, Glenn with two N's writes in. He says, one trick pony, you're pretty knowledgeable about football and have great contacts in other sports. Regarding Mahomes, usually defenses have more penalties than offenses, and when you get the call as long as the Chiefs do, too long, Glenn. See y'all tomorrow.
McFly, hello.